Well, this takes us back 40 years approximately to around 1970-71, when Percy Seif and a colleague of his, who was a filmmaker, thought it'd be a good idea to film an expedition of the kind that Percy, Chaim and Ginger had been doing for many years, recording rock paintings in the Cedarberg. So the film starts with an introduction to the three of them. Here's Percy, of course, dressed up as a clown. He had done a number of such theatrical things in these kinds of extreme makeup form. Ginger at his desk here, copying rock paintings, puffing away at his pipe, and Chaim the potter, also at Eagle's Nest, throwing some pots there. So this is an introduction to the three characters, Percy, Chaim, Ginger, and then this is myself at an early age sticking together pots. So while Chaim made them, I stuck old pots together again. This is Ginger's house at Llandudno and the famous red van which Ford had lent us for the expedition. Ford had provided some funding, and therefore the red van figures quite prominently in the film. This is the slopes of above Llandudno and the end of the 12 Apostles. Okay, so the shout is for Chaim to come out of the pottery with his backpack. You notice that in those days it wasn't at all cool to have new equipment out in the field. One had to have really well-worn old stuff, stitched in places and so forth. It was really, really not cool to have new, bright-coloured material. Here we are at the log cabin. This will be picking me up. There I am at the window, piling in. And this, of course, is the snakebite outfit. One had to carry that around in those days. Fortunately, we never had to use it because we probably would have done much more damage than the snakebite itself. Stacked away, looking at the maps, and all of us looking much younger than I remember us. And here we are, over the mountains, over the Cedarberg, looking down into the Wuppertal Valley, behind the Cedarberg. This amazing landscape with these fantastic rock formations. And we have to search every rock because almost any of these big boulders could have paintings on them. A lot of vernacular architecture around in those days. Unfortunately, so much of it gone nowadays. This is Longkloof, one of the outstations from above Wuppertal, the mission, Rhenish mission. And the people here were very pleased to see us. They're delightful people. I think it was so isolated in those days because very few people had the kind of vehicle that could get to these places. And so they were very helpful to us. A photograph from the South African Museum showing the SAN exhibition of those days. These were life casts made in the Kalahari. Typical arrow of the time. And we see similar bows and arrows, even the details are shown in some of the rock paintings. We also see details of decoration of skin bags, carrosses, and so forth in the rock paintings. Here's an example of fire making with 2 sticks. Here we are with the famous billy can coffee, 1 handful per person, and a burning stick to settle the grounds. Percy shaving early morning in camp. This was at Sonia's cave in Boentjie's Kloof, now Bushman's Kloof. Moor coffee. And here we are on the trip. This is the wife of the photographer. And Sonia's cave has these wonderful sleeping ledges, each with its own set of paintings. I'm being a little tardy, and I was always the most tardy in the early morning. These wonderful landscapes in the Pakhuis area across the Cedarberg. This is a site, Salmanskraal, with a very interesting dancing scene. Chaim did the recording, the written records. Percy was the great explorer, and I took a lot of photographs, so did Chaim. And Ginger, of course, did the tracings, and back at home, the redrawings. Here's Percy rediscovering the famous hunter shelter at Lorraine, Pakhuis. This is a very nerve-wracking bit of climbing. You wouldn't catch me doing this. There's a sheer drop below this and almost nowhere to put your feet. And in this little cave at the top here is this gem of a series of 3 paintings, beautiful little buck and the hunter and a second antelope. The easier way in is through a hole in the top of the roof, where the rest of the party is now descending. And here are these beautiful paintings, that little one, the hunter with the raised club. And we have reports from Van der Stel's time and onwards of how these people in the San in this area, or in the Western Cape generally, in fact in South Africa generally, one way of hunting was to throw clubs at ground game like hares, and also at francolin, guinea fowl, ground birds as they take off. And they're quite vulnerable at that point, and if you can hit them with a thrown stick, then they can fall down easily and be caught. And here we are at the farm of one of our greatest friends. Charity there is giving everyone coffee, and Piet, her husband, is a great storyteller and teaser of us serious visitors to the landscape. We have a number of quotes from Piet. On a rainy day he would say, "Why are you going out into this landscape? Every bush is a shower bath." And on other occasions he would say, "Why don't you come and stay in our house? Why do you sleep under those oppressive rocks?" Ginger usually led the way and wasn't too concerned about following paths. He would just bash through any bush, the pricklier the better. Here we are being taken to one of the sites by a youngster from one of the outstations at Wuppertal. And this is a beautiful little alcove on the Boentjie's Rivier, absolutely full of paintings of mainly of animals, a few people, and handprints and things of that sort. This funny little scene which we interpreted as possibly a dental scene, and here's a hunter who's pretty tired and put his bag down and having a good nap. Another example of this fantastic rock formations, Fechenfluch, which Heim discovered years after we thought we knew everything about that particular patch of countryside around Sevilla. And this is on the ceiling of a tiny little alcove, but a gem of a painting with people in a cave being attacked by a group advancing towards the cave, and a number of people have run out and have lines tracing their routes from the cave in various directions. So fight and flight, or Fechenfluch as Heim called it. The little cave there is actually set in a natural depression in the rock, so that it hardly needs to be painted as a cave. It's halfway to being a little cave, a little model of a cave. And here's a sad example of somebody in recent years using modern paint to repaint pictures and really desecrate them. This is a site on Paquet's Pass, which is very easy to visit. You can drive into it virtually. So it's well visited and picnicked. This, on the other hand, is a beautiful site on Lorraine, with a beautiful scene here of people in camp with their bags and other equipment hanging above them on the rock face, and them sitting around. This is the famous Rhino Cave, also at Lorraine, a beautiful site. Handprints and then nice antelope underneath there. One of the tiny antelopes in this site actually carries a bow and quiver, quite a remarkable little scene. We don't quite understand why one little antelope in a row should be equipped as a hunter. Ginger is painting his color chart so that he can get accurate renditions of the colors used. Of course, he takes these back to his studio, where he redraws them using the tracings, the color chart, and photographs to help him. The trunk of the elephant with the little folds in the trunk. This is the elephant cave close to the Rhino Cave in Lorraine, interpreted as an elephant hunt. Woonkieskloof was a favourite camping spot of ours. Lovely rock shelters there, lovely pool for swimming in. Always water, even in the driest months of January, February. Wonderful to cool off there. Also good for a meditation. Climb up the rocks overlooking the pool. Sit there towards the end of the day, just drinking in the scene.